people should understand that listen to this broadcast throughout the world is Luda's reporting on the pandemic and on what happened about this virus very early on before anybody else was talking about it has really set him apart among media people here in the United States. So I think you should take that. Number one, we have to continue to drive this narrative into the public consciousness. I want to make sure that everybody that's listening to this broadcast understands people throughout the world know very little about what's going on in China. The CCP has suppressed, if you think the firewall's harder about information coming in, information going out, people know very, very little about what's going on. And I think one of the first things the new federal state of China should do is continue to drive the narrative with more events like this, really wall-to-wall coverage about what's going on. So number one is drive the media narrative of why the CCP is illegitimate, why they're gangsters, what rights they've taken away from the decent, hardworking Chinese people. And I can tell you from our broadcast on War Room, the specials we do, how the basic Lao Baijing, old 100 names, the common person in China, their life is so horrible in this kind of slavery and tyranny and dictatorship of the CCP. So I think that's number one. Mm-hmm. The second is organizing. I think at the new federal state of China, and particularly at the Supervisory Committee of Himalaya, that is on because there's overseas Chinese all over. And we can tell, and this is for everyone that worked on this broadcast, there were hundreds and hundreds of millions of people that listen to this broadcast and watch this broadcast. Many of those hundreds of millions are in mainland China and also Chinese, overseas Chinese, but there are also tens of millions of people who are not Chinese who want to support the new state and want to help and assist the Chinese people. So I think it's organized, number one, on a country by country basis for the new federal state by overseas Chinese and Chinese citizens and Chinese nationals. It's also to get affiliate groups that are supportive that are not Chinese, that want to support the new federal state and help drive the narrative, help push this to a successful conclusion. The third thing is that I think that different than just the media, I think that the new federal state of China and the people on the supervisory committee and the people that join the local groups ought to be having outreach. And that outreach ought to be at all foreign governments, ought to be particularly at all associations, whether those are sports associations, cultural associations, civic associations, both in countries and international. And it ought to be a full court press every day that the new federal state of China is actually acting like a government, making outreach, and it's not all going to be successful at first. It may be difficult sometimes even to get meetings, but I think you'll be shocked at the openness that people want to hear the story of what is the new federal state of China. How are you going to govern China differently? What's the plight of the Chinese people? And I think that is an everyday effort to do that. And I think if those three things are done, that we're going to bring down the CCP much sooner than people think.